State and
Yeah.
what they're all about now? And are they similar to the VCU team you played with Destin a few years back?
Yeah, I think they're, it starts, with those two guards. I mean, they're so fast and shifty, and they put a lot of pressure on the basketball. Then they put a lot of pressure on you on the other end with their ability to break you down. So it's, a full 40 minutes, of quickness, dribble drive, attacking you. They do a good job of cutting offensively. They didn't shoot the ball well last game, but they got, a handful of guys that can shoot the basketball. It's just, we all have those games where you get some pretty good looks and they just don't go down. But, they, from Dunn to Hicks to, Clary, they got guys that can shoot the basketball. So it's, it's working on keeping the ball out of the paint. They do a great job of getting the ball in the paint and putting you in a tough spot and help. And that kind of affects your rebound balance when you have to help too much. But no, he's done a good job. They have a great system. Like a lot of people just, piecing it together, and that's what, when they're living in the paint and they're causing havoc, like Northwestern, somebody that it does not turn the ball over. They've been great. Chris has done a great job with those guys, getting them to defend, but he's gotten them, their defense has really improved at Northwestern because they don't turn it over. They stay out of transition, they stay out of tough spots, and they turned them over 19 times. So, it speaks for itself.
The impact of the turnovers at Northwestern and at Nebraska, how do you, I know you talk about it all year long.
Right.
How do you, is there anything that kind of needs to be fixed there?
Well, yeah, it's careless passing. Like a lot of them are just simple passes, just, freezing the defense. And, you got to freeze somebody's hands through your pass and shot fakes before you get to it if you just don't have a natural feel for things. Some guys have a natural feel to pass the basketball, and they might not even be able to explain what they do. They just they just know how to deliver the basketball. Other guys that don't have that feel, they can't make no-look passes. They can't pass the ball off the dribble. Like, they have to be fundamentally sound and simple. And when we do that, we just hand the ball back to people. You're not going to have success. I don't think that really held true in the Northwestern game, but it held true other night. Like, we'd make a run, and then all of a sudden, the guy would be open, just cutting to the basketball. He'd get deflected. They'd get the ball back, and just, trying to be simple, trying to be fundamentally sound. I know it comes off corny, but, it wins the race, and that's what we have to do. Like, we have to do a better job of just being fundamentally sound and running our stuff. And when we have advantages, when we have numbers, when we have whatever, be aggressive, but also be on 2 feet when they swarm the basketball because somebody's obviously open.
1, 2, 3, 5 all lost this week.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been upsets in college basketball, but is a combination of a COVID year and transfers without having to take a year off, has that shrunk the gap between tops and bottoms teams?
Yeah, but I think this happens a lot, especially in conference play. You're more aware of your opponent, just because you've spent more time and you have past history of playing them. And then good teams. Like, we've gotten beat by 2 teams. They're both good teams. And Northwestern's, very good, and so is Nebraska. So it's, when you look across the country and you go and see at some of those other teams that beat them, like, they're on the road. It is more difficult, but they're quality teams too. Maybe they don't have the best resumes, but the only thing that matters is from 7 to 9 on that Wednesday night. It's the only thing that matters. And so, but yeah, I think there's obviously, a lot of parity in college basketball.
Talked the other night about Cam played a good game, he played in extended minutes, and I think fans probably thought he could just dunk based on last year, but how valuable was that redshirt year for him? And now showing that he's more versatile than just, a high flyer. Yeah,
no question. He's learned not to overdo things. Take his threes, try to get some offensive putbacks, try to get out on the break, and just kind of be that 3-and-D player more than anything. Really guard, and know what you're doing from a defensive standpoint, helping us on the glass, and then using your athleticism in those other areas. But he's had like a timely 3 that he's made for us, it seems like, in almost every game. I don't think it's been that way, but he's really made strides. Hard to make strides when you're playing that 8 to 12 minutes, right? Another night, it just, we felt like he brought a lot of energy, and we needed to start him in the second half, and we had a good run with him. We had a really good run with him to start that second half. We just couldn't maintain it. The turnovers hurt us, and their ability to make shots. I thought they were really good, and you got to tip your hat to them. They made 14 threes, and I thought 10 of them were, closely guarded, well guarded. A couple of them were borderline fouls, and so I thought our guys did a pretty good job there. We just had the 4 you'd like to have back. We had a miscommunication on one. We went under a screen one time on Tominagi when we absolutely didn't want to. We fall asleep on another one, just on a kind of a quick hit to the corner, which was actually a 2. They called a 3.
I can't believe they never reviewed that.
Yeah, just, they got to do a better job of helping each other from an officiating standpoint. We had multiple hook and holds that we didn't go to the monitor. Fletch just gets absolutely trucked in the game. I mean, absolutely trucked. And so, I think that's the piece of officiating where I think some guys don't feel comfortable because they're stepping on other guys' toes, calling out of your area. But just the fact of helping each other out as officials, I think, can really help. I officiate in practice all by myself, and I'm just guessing the whole time because I'm out of position the whole time. But when you have 3 guys out there, they got to do a better job of working as a team.
With Cam, how hard is it hard normally for inexperienced guys to be as simple as he's been?
Well,
He doesn't do anything
we've really tried to work on it. He's had some moments earlier in the year where he's done some things where he's kind of gotten himself stuck, and then he just kind of does it because it's it's like a default, right? And they're just explaining to him you don't have to do that. Just don't do that. Play at the rim, take your threes, move the basketball, let Braden manipulate off ball screens, let Zach post up. Just learn to be that guy that plays off of them. Those other guys get attention, that gets you on the glass. Those other guys gets attention, that gets you open looks. And it's a good piece. That role right there is what you see a lot of times in the NBA. You're like, how is this guy? He has less than this guy. Well, he's accepting a role. You got to play around superstars.
So lately, you guys' free throw advantage has been cut a little bit.
Yes.
And you talked about the officiating, but has that been, I guess, a product of officiating or more play
Right.
style?
Well, I would say, just naturally speaking, you're going to have a little bit of a cut on the road by nature. Just like that would be an advantage for you at home, but it wouldn't be on the road. But that's for everybody. And you got to be able to play through it. The one thing about officiating is when you don't play well, you bring them more into play. And I don't think we played our best basketball. And so now they're more a part of the game. We got to do a better job on our part. I got to do a better job coaching. Our guys got to do a better job playing so they're not a big impact on the game. But no, he had 3 or 4 times that they called the foul that they took away our layups. And so you complain about him getting fouled, and then all of a sudden he's got a layup and they call it on the floor. Then the same thing happens when he gets into a shot and they don't call it. And you go back and watch and you're like, it's not that big a deal. Then you watch it and see it and you're like, he rarely complains and he's wrong. I mean, we're the first player in college basketball history, right? But he does. So when you see him say something, my problem is I'm 60 feet away, I'm 50 feet away, whatever it might be, at the other end. I'm really good when it's on top of me, but I can't see everything, there. So I don't know what to really try to kind of help through that process. But no, it's, you asked the question, so I answer it, but it's not the crux of what happened. We got beat at Nebraska because Nebraska coached and played better than us. They were more productive. They deserved to win. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It was, it's on us. But you also don't want to say that and take the credit away from them.
Get your students back.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a valuable part of the college basketball atmosphere. I know that you don't crap on the fans that came here and sold out this place when they weren't here, because that's impressive in its own right. But just how valuable is it to have that student section that you get?
Oh, it's huge, but it kind of shows you about our fan base and how great they've been, because you go and see those games, and then for someone who that's maybe their first game ever, and say, hey, this is without our students, it kind of, is a big deal, because other nights' atmosphere against Illinois was really, was big time. It just was. But now that to get the students back, but more than anything, that's what I always talk to our guys about. Let's give them something to cheer about. They help us when we play well. They help us when we do our job.
You guys have struggled the last 5 minutes of the last 3 halves.
Mm-hmm.
Are there common threads, things that you've seen out there that they need to focus on?
Not really. You know, an Illinois game, it was more of a matchup game. Like, we were pretty good against a certain, group. And then we actually played well when Zach was out. So that game actually helped us. But the other two games, we didn't play well. But we were in a good position, like, up until there. That last 3 minutes was just, the Nebraska game was tough. Like, everything that we did seemed to go the other direction. So not really. Just a, combination of not taking care of the ball, getting some open shots and missing them, and then they capitalized on everything. Like, they just didn't miss. But you go back and watch, and I always talk about sticking to our rules defensively. When we get off our rules, we lessen our chance of success. So just stick with our rules and stay connected and take care of the basketball.